Hello, my friends, and welcome. Today we are going to do a quick little yoga class to stretch our legs, to get some blood flowing, and just take a moment to kind of be with our breath and prioritize our practice, even if we have a limited amount of time. Today for class, we will use a blanket. We will use 2 blocks. And then if you'd like to have a bolster for Shavasana, maybe to put underneath your legs to elevate them, feel free to grab that. So you can always use a pillow. If you don't have a bolster, you can always use books or maybe water bottles or cans if you do not have blocks. And if not, if you are limited in the props that you have, then just try to do it without. I'm going to cue both ways, so you'll be fine regardless. So take a moment, pause the video if you need to, gather what you need, and then we're going to meet on our backs on our mat. So take your time. Make sure that you have enough space around you to really spread out, to really take up room here. Move all of the props out of your way unless you're utilizing them. Sometimes a blanket or a pillow underneath the head allows for a nice settling sensation. And play around with the distance between your arms and your body, maybe even bringing the arms all the way out into a T. Let the legs come nice and wide. Just take up as much room as you can right now. Especially now we're in this place where we're kind of encouraged to take up less space, especially in the world, in our quarantine situation. So allow your yoga practice to be a place where you kind of balance that out, where you allow yourself to expand, to take up room unapologetically. Once you've settled into stillness, just go ahead and close the eyes. Feel the softness across the forehead as the eyebrows relax. Let the eyelids drape heavy over the eyes and release the jaw. Maybe rock it side to side so you know that it's relaxed. Feel the weight of the head resting heavy on the ground. And then snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you so that you can feel broad across the front of the chest. And then bring your attention to your breath, not changing it yet, just beginning to notice the sensations that you feel. The energizing effect of the breath in, providing your body with the nourishment that it needs to sustain your practice. The release of the exhale, letting go of what your body has utilized and what you no longer need. And then that gentle ebb and flow, linking the two together. Begin to breathe more intentionally, filling your lungs to their fullest capacity, softening the breath out with control, allowing to slow and lengthen the exhale. And then just take a moment to appreciate that as you start to bring your attention to your breath and the sensations that you feel in your body, everything else becomes less important. Your to-do list for the day, the tasks still waiting on you at the end of this short practice. I invite you and even challenge you here to be more present. Knowing that this is a short practice, can you try to stay attentive to the breath the whole time? Don't worry about what comes next, just worry about what comes now. Take your last breath here. And then begin to bring some movement into your fingers and your toes. Begin to rock the head gently side to side and allow all of those movements to start to grow. Just bringing any movement into the body that feels good, allowing yourself time to explore here. You might reach the arms overhead, grabbing either the wrists or elbows perhaps, taking a big breath in as you point the toes. When you're ready to exhale, let's gather the legs into the chest And then either grabbing the backs of the thighs or maybe the tops of the knees, just find some movement. Begin to iron out the back body here, pressing down into the ground. And play with the distance between the legs and the body. Notice how that changes the sensations that you feel underneath you. Good. Add some movement into the ankles as well. Let out any cracks and pops, bringing movement into the toes. Good. And then settle into stillness when you're ready here. Widen the knees, but keep the ankles closer together, and then reach your arms between your legs so that they're coming to the inner thighs, and then grab the tops of your ankles. And we'll come into full happy baby soon, but just linger here in a more passive shape first. So let the heels be heavy. Anchor the shoulders down so that they're still glued to the mat and you still feel broad across the front of the chest. You might keep your eyes closed here. That allows me to pay more attention to what I feel rather than what I see. And then find some movement in the ankles again. And with your grip on your ankles, start to feel how the movement of the feet affects the rest of the legs. You can feel how all of the musculature and the tendons attached to the feet run all the way up the lower leg. So I want one of the takeaways from this to be that as you move your ankles around, as you control the movement in your feet, that gives you more access to the strength in the rest of your legs. And it works all the way up the whole chain of the body. So coming into a little more movement here for another breath. And then let's find flexion at our feet. So pointing the toes is that action of pointing the toes away from the knees, and then flexing the ankles is the opposite. So pulling the toes up towards the knees. Keep that. And then just one at a time here. On your next inhale, start to lengthen the sole of the right foot up towards the ceiling. Keep the knee fairly bent here, and maybe use the strength of the arm to pull the knee down towards the outside ribs. Good, take one more breath here, just the right side. Left leg is still fairly relaxed. And then as you exhale, right heel comes back down towards the hip. Inhale, this time left leg. Lift the sole of the foot up towards the ceiling while still pulling down so that the knee comes towards the outside edge of your left ribs. Good, take one more breath here. And then switch once more. As you exhale, soften the heel down. Make your way to the right. Good. This time pause. Anchor the shoulder down. Keep the ankle flexed. And then add the left leg here. On an inhale, lengthen the sole of the foot up towards the ceiling. So full happy baby now. Can you rock a little side to side? Feel the space that you're creating through the outer hips. And then from here, we're going to add on. So on an inhale this time, start to lengthen the right leg so that the knee starts to straighten out. Straight doesn't necessarily have to be a goal, but that's just the direction that we're working in. Take one more breath, feel the length through the back of the leg. Good, and then exhale, bend the right knee. Inhale, lengthen the left leg. Just beginning to come into a longer leg, a straighter knee, not straight necessarily, and feel the stretch through the inner thigh, perhaps the back of the leg. Take one more breath. Good, and then exhale again, bend the left knee. This time, inhale, lengthen the right. Check in with your shoulder, plug your shoulder down and back, flex the ankles, and then inhale, lengthen the left leg. Good, take one more breath here. And then as you exhale, just bring the knees back into the chest. Slowly begin to rock and roll forward and back on the spine. Build some momentum and eventually make your way up to a seated position. We'll come to a seat with the feet actually planted in front of us, about hips width, maybe even wider. You could even go as wide as your mat here. And spaced out enough away from the hips that you can effortlessly or fairly effortlessly sit up tall. Pull the shoulders back and then soften them down away from the ears and grab the tops of your knees with your hands. As you inhale, start to find almost a cow position here in the chest. Pull the shoulders back, pull the heart forward. Maybe the gaze starts to lift. Take an extra breath here. And then as you're ready to exhale, slowly start to round down, root the tailbone down so you feel yourself rolling more onto the back of your hips. Press back into the space between the shoulder blades and keep the grip on the knees to keep you from rolling all the way back. Good, take an extra inhale here, extra breath out. Use your belly muscles to empty your lungs. And then inhale again, come forward. Heart forward, shoulders back, maybe the gaze lifts. Exhale, round, lean back, round down, and then create space between the shoulders. Maybe rock side to side here. One more time, inhale, heart forward, shoulders pull back. You might add some neck movements here if that feels good. And then exhale one last time, press back, round through the upper body. Good, inhale, come back forward. And then just make your way to a tabletop. So walk your hands forward, bring your knees underneath your hips. Take your time setting up this pose, and if you have any knee sensitivity, you could always unfold your handy dandy blanket, place that underneath your legs. Look back behind you, make sure your knees are underneath your hips really solidly there. Press into the tops of the feet so that all 10 toenails root into the ground. And then play with your arm position a little bit. Maybe widen the hands. Maybe rotate the fingers so that the index finger points forward rather than the middle finger. Find a way to soften the shoulders away from the neck more and elongate more from the crown of the head. Good. Knit in towards center, engage through the rib cage, and then start to lift the front of the body away from the ground slightly. So we're finding a mixture between cat and cow to make up our neutral. So finding broadness through the chest, shoulders plucked down and back, but engaging through the belly and pressing into the ground with our limbs. From there, on an inhale, start to lean a little onto the left leg more and slide the right toes back. Keep the toes on the ground for now, and then letting your ankle kind of drive this movement, I want you to start to press your heel back, and then press through the ball of the right foot to shift the chest back forward and get lighter on the toes. And we'll do that a couple of times. Press the heel back, starting to feel more length through the lower leg, and then pressing into the ball of the foot to shift back forward. Just do that one more time. Stay strong through the belly and press the hands into the ground. Good, shift forward. Stay light on the toes, knit in towards center and wrap your left hip back. Flex your right ankle, and then on an inhale, allow your right heel to float in line with your hip. Good, take an extra breath here. Press your heel back like you're standing on it. And then when you're ready to exhale, start to bring the knee towards the nose. Round through the upper back like cat pose. Create space under the chest and then step your foot forward. Grab your ankle, drag it forward. Make sure you have a nice long stance here. Step your right foot more to the right. And then here's where blocks might come in handy. I'm gonna grab mine. So if you have your blocks, I would suggest actually the highest height. If you don't have blocks, you can still stay light on the fingertips. You just will have to engage more through the legs, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So press into your right heel and then slowly start to lift the chest away from your thigh. And then staying light on the fingertips, I want you to just kind of rock the hips forward and back. Just play with lengthening the right leg a little here. Not worried about linking your movement with your breath yet, but still maintaining a nice deep and controlled breath here. Just beginning to feel the hips kind of settle. Wrap the right hip back. Press into your right heel, get lighter on the fingertips, and then hands to heart center. Rise up slowly. Root the tailbone down. So actually, let's bring our hands to our hip bones, and then I want you to find this tilt of the pelvis. Nobody's watching you, so you can kind of explore a little more maybe than you would in a normal class. So, and when you're ready, I want you to pull the front hip points up. Feel how that engages more through the lower leg, or through the lower abdominals rather. And then start to press your hips forward without rounding and slouching into your low back. so that you start to open more through the front of the left leg. Take one more breath here. Just keep your hands at heart center. We're going to focus way more on the legs here, so allow the arms to not be a distraction from that. Good. One more breath. Press the ground away from you. It's okay if it's challenging. And then when you're ready to exhale, bring your fingertips back to the ground or to your blocks. Press into your right heel, and then on an inhale, start to peel the right hip up and back. Press into the heel more, and then start to peel the ball of the right foot off the ground. So you're coming just onto the heel. Keep wrapping the right hip back, and then as much of a bend in your knee as you'd like. Keep flexing the ankle, stay light on the fingers. Maybe even bring your hands to heart center, challenge your balance a little. Press more into the top of the back foot there. Good, last big breath in here. As you exhale, maybe without lowering your hands, can you roll down onto the sole of your foot, bring your hands to blocks, and then walk the block that's on your right hand to the inside of your right foot. And then from there, walk your right foot a little wider to the right. So coming into a kneeling lizard pose here, maybe lower the blocks, or maybe get rid of the blocks here. Keep pressing into the ground with your feet. Try to stay light on the fingertips, and then adjust your stance as needed here. I like to step my foot a little more forward. Wrap your right hip back. Really press into the earth with your feet. Take your last breath in. Good. If your hands are still on blocks, go ahead and lower them down. Plant the hands into the ground here. Press the ground away from you, and then can you lightly, slowly sneak your right foot all the way back. Good. One round of cat-cow here. As you inhale, pull your shoulders back, broaden through the chest, stretch through the front of the belly. As you exhale, round the tailbone down and let that travel like a wave up your spine. Good. Come back to neutral. Rebuild this pose. So a lot of us, this pose is very familiar, but can you come into those familiar poses even more mindfully? Checking in every single time with every placement of your limbs. Press into the tops of your feet, spread your fingers, claw into the hands so you feel really engaged through the palm. Good. And then from there, when you're ready, on an inhale, just slowly start to slide the left toes back on the mat. Stay strong through the belly and try not to lean all of your weight into your right leg. Can you maintain even weight through the right and left hand? Good. And then as you inhale, you'll slowly start to shift forward to get lighter on the left toes. As you exhale, press the heel back and lengthen more through the lower leg. Just keep going back and forth like that a few more times. But make sure that you're not collapsing into your ribs or letting your belly kind of slouch down into the ground. Can you stay strong in the body? Let the gaze come out in front of the fingertips so your neck stays nice and long. Good. Press into the right foot more. Do one more round. Forward, back. Press the heel back. Feel the length that you're creating through the calf muscle there. And then again, shift forward. Get lighter on the left toes. Press into the ground with your right foot and wrap your right hip back. So first build stability before we add on. And then when you're ready to inhale, float the left heel up, flex the left ankle. Good, take an extra breath here. Keep wrapping the right hip back and the left hip down so that you're not opening up unevenly. One more inhale, press the heel back. As you exhale, pull your knee towards your nose. Round through the upper back, press the ground away from you, and then step your foot forward. Again, grab your ankle, pull it the rest of the way. Stay light on your fingertips, maybe grab your blocks. I'm going to use my blocks to lift my chest away from the ground. And then just begin to find some movement here. Rocking forward and back. Letting the hips start to settle and just checking in with maybe some differences this side versus the other. Notice which muscles lengthen as you lengthen the leg and which muscles engage to create stability as you find movement. Finding those little pockets of awareness, the nuances in dynamic postures, will start to deepen the connection that you have to your body in your practice. When you're ready, come to stillness. Spread your left toes. Press down into the top of the right foot, wrap your left hip back, and then slowly make your way upright. From there, let's just keep the hands at heart center. Again here, keep pressing into both feet, and then again, find that tilt of the pelvis upward so that you're closing the space between the ribs and the hips while still maintaining broadness through the chest. And then pressing the hips forward a little here to lengthen more through the top of the right thigh. Keep pressing evenly into both feet. Broad through the chest, long in the spine. Can you stand up a little taller? Maybe take one more breath here. Good. As you exhale, fingertips lightly back down to your blocks. And then when you're ready to inhale, start to peel the left hip up and back. Notice the movement I want you to do from your hip, not by pressing the knee down, but by lengthening the hips up. And then from there, slowly with control, start to peel the left foot up so that you're coming onto just the heel of the foot there. Keep wrapping the left hip back. Notice if you lean more to the right side, can you still press the left foot into the ground here? Maybe you challenge your balance, maybe you bring your hands to heart center. You'll have to work harder in the legs there. Find your breath. Good, one more inhale here. Press through the feet, slowly roll forward, ground the left foot, maybe without your hands. Bring your hands to blocks when you're ready. Left block will come to the inside of the left leg. Step your left foot a little more to the left. And then again, maybe you lower the blocks or maybe you move them out of the way altogether, but I want you to stay light on your fingers. Use your arms less, use your legs more. And then from there, wrap the left hip back, press the feet into the ground, maybe step the foot a little more forward. And feel the length that you're creating through the legs and creating stillness from the breath. Good, take one more inhale, one more exhale. From there, lower the hands down to the ground. Again, press the ground away from you, root down into the ground, and then can you sneak your left foot back? Good, from there, widen the knees. Bring the big toes together to touch. Sink your hips down towards your heels, and then before you settle the torso, just gently rock a little side to side. And allow that to slowly settle the torso all the way to the ground. If the ground feels far away, you can always bring it closer by putting your forehead on a block. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, sigh the breath out. Notice this shape in the legs is pretty similar to how we started the practice, just we were on our backs instead, but similar positioning of the limbs. Note any differences you might feel here. Maybe more of a stretch through the inner thighs, maybe less because you feel more open. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly make your way upright. Make your way to a seat. So if you have your blanket unfolded as a little cushion for your knees, take a moment to fold it back up. We'll place that underneath our seat. And then we'll just do a simple engagement through the hamstring here. We haven't done too much work there. Lengthen your right leg out in front of you and maybe a little to the right, but not much. Like if you're looking at a clock, your leg would be at like 1 o'clock. Your your left heel will be pulled in towards your groin. And then you can always bring a block underneath your left thigh there if you'd like. Plug your your right hip back. So kind of lean more onto your left hip, pull your right hip back, and then sit back down on it. From there, bring your fingertips down on the outsides of your leg. Pull the shoulders back. Take a big breath in. And then as you exhale, slowly begin to fold forward, just tiptoeing the fingers forward, taking your time, worrying less about how deep you go, but rather really focusing on the different layers of the shape that show up. And the slower you go, the more you'll start to notice. Where do you feel sensation first, and when does that begin to dissipate and start to show up elsewhere? We'll take about 3 more breaths here, and if you'd like to add a little bit more sensation, you might start to try to turn the right toes out to the right, and then turn the right toes in towards the left. And just begin to rotate the entire leg and feel how that creates movement in your hip socket. And then also in turn, how that changes what hamstring muscles you're lengthening. Take 2 more breaths. Pull the shoulders back, lengthen the spine a little more. Good, rise up slowly. And then we'll switch. So left shin or left leg will lengthen out. Pull the right heel in. And then again, lean more onto the right hip. Plug your left hip back so you feel the leg kind of suck more into its socket, and then slowly sit your hip back down on the left. Good, fingertips out in front of you with the chest slightly rotated towards your left toes. Elongate through the spine, take a big breath in. And then as you exhale, just slowly crawl your way forward. And again, worry less about how deep you go, and just more about the layers of the posture that show up, that rear their head for you. Maybe you're not quite enjoying it, but can you find solace in your breath? Maybe bring a smile to your face and trick yourself a little here. Stay broad through the heart, long in the spine. Slightly flexed through the ankle, so that action of pulling the toes up towards the knee. Take note of maybe which leg is tighter. And then again, if you'd like to check in on this side, you might find that rotation of the foot. So I say it's the foot, but it's your toes that you can see moving the most, but keeping your ankle flexed and keeping all of that in the same position, turning the toes will also in turn turn the legs as well. So feel the whole thigh bone kind of rotating in the hip socket here if you're doing this, and feel which muscles start to engage to make that rotation, and which muscles open as you turn the toes out, and where you feel more sensation as you turn the toes in. Good, last breath here. Rise up slowly. Bring the soles of the feet together, knees wide. Grab the tops of your ankles here, rock gently side to side. Maybe give yourself a little foot rub for a moment. You deserve it. And then just begin to fold forward towards your feet. Worry less about the length of the spine here, kind of letting yourself round down, letting this be a counteraction for all of the length that we've created. Just kind of allowing yourself to bow forward now. You can definitely still be rubbing your feet. I know I am. Maybe close your eyes. Notice where the breath travels and create space here as you constrict the space that it normally uses in the front of the belly. Where do you feel sensation instead? Perfect. When you're ready to exit, just slowly roll up the spine. Take your time. Help the legs back in towards center. Ground the feet on the mat in front of you, fingers behind you, and then gently sway the knees side to side. And feel how that massages through the back of the hip, maybe the outer leg. Kind of roll more onto one side and then the other here. Have some fun with it. And then when you're ready, gently make your way down to your back. Bring along any props that might allow you to settle heavier onto the ground. We'll do a really quick Shavasana here, just about a minute or so, but obviously you're at home. You can turn this video off. You can lay in your Shavasana for as long as you'd like. Once you settle down on your back, close your eyes. Soften through the eyebrows. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Let the shoulders anchor into the ground. Let the belly be soft. Relax the ankles and the toes. If it helps me a lot as you inhale. Take the biggest breath you've had all day. And then as you exhale, sigh the breath out, let it go. Notice where your mind begins to wander as silence starts to creep in. Can you be content with your breath for 5 more rounds? Let that be enough. Now once more, if you are at home and you have longer to linger in this shape, please do. Take that time to fill your cup, to give your body what it craves, that rest that it needs. If you're exiting with us in the rest of class, just gently begin to rub your thumb along each finger. Wiggle the toes. Move the ankles and the wrists around. Allow that to grow into the other arm bones, the legs. Just finding gentle movement here. You might take a morning stretch here if that calls to you, but if not, we'll just meet with the legs in towards the chest, rolled onto your favorite side in the fetal position there. Take your time getting there. There's no rush. Let yourself settle heavy in stillness once more, just providing you that last opportunity to check in before we close out our practice. As you feel ready, make your way up to a seated position. Gently press the arms into the ground to lift up. Maybe grabbing a prop to elevate the seat slightly. Bow your chin towards your chest. Bring your hands to heart center. Breathe in gratitude for this place and this practice. And exhale peace to all those around you. Namaste. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always available. I miss you all, and I hope to see you in the studio soon.